Well, another Tuesday is another website update. No new video this time, but we do have some surprising inclusions still. So let's talk about it. Patasaurus is our first animal. It looks like you would expect if you weren't hoping for a redesign. It's a Patasaurus from JWE2. The skins suck still. It's not great. All right, one just horribly hard to get out sneeze later. Let's continue. Yeah, I don't have much to say about this guy. Uh, Not only does he not really look that much like his film counterpart, he also looks like shit. So let's just move on with our lives, huh? You know who doesn't look like shit? My boy Carnotaurus. Um, yeah, we got the female design with the smaller horns, male with the larger horns. The current pattern is on the female. The male has this new, more stripy pattern. Looks good to me. Baby looks about like you'd expect. Itty bitty horns. Nice vertical stripe there. Or horizontal stripe, rather. Yeah, it looks good. We've pretty much already seen this. This was. There was a good example of the dimorphism for Carnotaurus floating around in the last week on Reddit, coming from somebody's gameplay footage, so not exactly a reveal here. Um, but I'm pretty happy with what I see. So should be a banger in 3 like it was in 2. Corythosaurus, again, an animal we had a pretty good idea of what it was looking like. We already knew it was in, but just another good look at it. Uh, Much larger crest on the male with this really nice, like, spoked style of design. That's not really motivated by the films, but whatever. I mentioned it before, and I'm going to mention it again. Pretty damn sure there's a male and a female design in the herd in JP3. People just don't really notice it or call attention to it because they go by so fast. But if you're a weird person, you go frame by frame, there's like orange and red crests, basically. Um, so I'm not shocked, especially given the fact that they haven't really been using the actual canon animals for the dimorphism, which is a weird choice. The Pseudoceratops situation is just a weird thing. But not surprising to me, this is what we got for Corythosaurus, rather than just a little bit of different color. Um, in general, we're getting a lot of cases where what is probably a female in the film is not a female in the game. It is a little weird, especially when it comes to crests, which are always getting shrunken down here on the females. A lot of the same dimorphism. I'll tell you who doesn't have the same dimorphism. Dreadnoughtus. Look at that size difference. That's kind of wild. Expected more of this in the game than we got. This is kind of it for substantial size difference. It does make the animal stand out more. And I quite like the Dominion Dreadnoughtus, so this seems. I'm fine with this. It doesn't really look like there's much interesting stuff going on new with the patterns, but again, that's fine. Not much to say about it. I mean, we knew it was in the game. We just haven't had a good look at its dimorphism ever. I don't know if it was in the dev build. It probably wasn't because it wasn't on the website, right? So we didn't get to see this on the other weekend. Next. Who are next? Lystrosaurus. Um, yeah, utterly adorable little baby with these big eyes. He looks like a little alien. Um, Looks like the pattern here on the male is probably different. These like stripes are there on in JWE 2, right? But this colorization on the side of the head looks a little bit more standout-ish. And definitely like these wobbling stripes along the shoulder and the hip on the edge of the animal here, coming down from the um, main stripes up above, I think, are new as well. So pretty big pattern differences on this guy, it would seem. Probably some differences in the head shape there, but not super obvious. You would think they'd give him bigger tusks as like a display feature. Missed opportunity because we're not going to get tusks on dinosaurs. Um, they should have went for it. Moros intrepidus. This is an animal. Well, first off, sure, it's Moros. It doesn't look like any substantially different. Not much to say here for dimorphism. This is an animal that could have a larger adult in JWE3 than does in 2, because there is some leeway for them to make the animal from Dominion a juvenile. Don't think they're doing that, but Moros should actually be substantially larger than it is in game currently. It's just, for whatever reason, Dominion decided to make it an itty bitty little fella. Um, I don't expect to see that change, but it would have been maybe nice. Oh well. Yeah, not much to say about that. Not a very interesting looking guy. He really just looks like he does. Here's the first of 3 interesting new inclusions that we had no hint of previously. Pro Ceratosaurus. Not the most shocking include. This is a film canon animal. Its name appears on screen, so I get it. It wasn't on my short list, but it was on my honorable mentions essentially for things that could make it in. It looks like we got a shortened crest on the female and a slightly different crest shape on the male with this up curve. I don't think either of these is quite like the JWE2 version. Another example of an animal where the crest design was changed completely for both. Male has this new pattern you can see here with some extra little splotches and striping along the body. It doesn't look that bad. It's not as splotchy and gross as it could be, so I think it looks all right. We'll have to see, a better shot of it from the side or something to know for sure, but yeah, it's all right. Juvenile looks about like you'd expect. Really short crest. I like the striping, kind of evoking the style of the adult, but with its own vibe, because it's kind of like this double stripe it looks like on the body as opposed to the singular stripe on the adult. Looks good. Happy to see this guy come back. I always like this little rat fella. Plus, it's a Jurassic Park classic animal. Glad to see it. Much more shockingly, Quanjusaurus is back. I don't think this was on anybody's short list. People may have wanted it, but I don't think anybody expected it. It's directly competing with Albertosaurus, which isn't in the game, Megalosaurus for name recognition, but it is a pretty unique animal profile-wise, so I get it making it in. Also allows them to include something from the JW2 base roster and something that's kind of a dark horse pick, an outsider pick that's got no franchise history. Mix up the roster a little bit. So I'm not mad about this. I like this animal. It's good. Looks like the male has just extended striping. Looks like it goes a little further down the body, striping on the thighs, more striping on the face. It looks good. Not mind-blowing, but a decent pattern. It looks like the stripes are thicker too on the body. There's less of them. Seems all right. We can't really tell here with the detail if the little thorny bits are different between the two, because one of the interesting things with Quanjusaurus is they had these weird thorns along his spine that looked pretty different from any spike we had on any other design, any other animal design in the game. The baby looks a lot like all the tyrannosaurids and large and medium carnivores, evoking the Ceratosaurus very well too, with the itty bitty head and the big feet. Looks a little awkward. I don't know. Some of these don't look. Some of these mid-sized theropod babies don't look right to me, and this is one that goes with the Ceratosaurus and the don't look right pile. The head looks a little just a little too small in proportion to those huge feet. It looks a little toy-like, a little weird. My boy's back. We got Styracosaurus. I did not expect to see another Ceratopsian. Kind of crazy. But I'm glad that this is the Ceratopsian we see. This is my favorite Ceratopsian in general, IRL, in the game, both. And the male is incredible. This male, this is probably my favorite male Ceratopsian, and I'm really glad that it's on my favorite Ceratopsian species. Female looks just like it does in JW2. That's perfectly fine. But the male has like they didn't just make him have big taller frill. He's kind of got like a wider frill, which I like. I think that looks much better for frill based dimorphism. The nose horn looks like it might be a little bit longer, makes some sense. But the big thing is this beautiful splash of color on the frill, giving it this like I don't know what this looks like, a butterfly wing maybe a little bit, and then this little extra bit here between the eyes. This is excellent. Love this. Very cool. Baby looks great. About what you'd expect. Um, excuse me. Spiky frill, but much proportionally smaller spikes than the adults. Yeah, seems nice. Very happy with this. Very happy with its depiction. Very happy with its inclusion, despite our ceratopsian heavy roster. But yeah, pretty shocking include overall, especially paired with Guanjusaurus and Proceratosaurus. I don't think anybody was expecting like three like new confirmations this week that were non-obvious. I think people are expecting Theory, they're expecting Oviraptor. There's still a handful of people that were expecting somehow all the animals from Camp Cretaceous. Um, but yeah, and the last animal for today is Centaurosaurus. It sure do exist. You can see the, of course, difference in the size and shape of the head crest for the sexual dimorphism, like every one of the Hadrosaurs has. Male is maybe standing taller, but the female is down in like the crouched like threat display, so you really can't tell that too well. Honestly, I would have kind of liked just like a flat side profile to like get a good sense of the dimensions of the animals for the dimorphism. It's nice to see, the looping GIF here showing us some of their animation, but like it doesn't give you a good sense of the actual differences in the animals. The three quarters like almost head on profile doesn't help you determine the patterns. It's kind of like the least useful way to display the animals in some sense. Um, yeah. Well, we got more reveals coming next week. We have the egg, 6 days until reveal. And there are still things to see. Let's go through my slides and take a look at the roster in order by category. Let's do one of these. Maybe, okay, well, you know what? We don't need to zoom in. There's not that much information here. So, we'll start with the hybrids. We already know all these. Then we get the large carnivores. No changes here. These five, right? First place we get a change is the medium carnivores with the addition of Quanjusaurus. Yeah, not. I mean, he slots into the roster all right. We got Tyrannos already for like a medium-sized Tyrannosaurid, but the diversity here looks pretty good. Small carnivores, we get Proceratosaurus added in. Probably reusing a lot of animations from Coelophysis and or Guanlong. Another possible reason he makes the cut is the fact that he has his name visible in film in Jurassic Park. Both him and Metriacanthosaurus, you actually see their names explicitly when Nedry is stealing the embryos. Herrerasaurus and Stegosaurus still nowhere to be seen, but you don't see their names in the film. That might be the deciding factor for Frontier. A lot of small carnivores, but that's kind of the current state of the franchise. Dominion really boosted this roster with Pyro, Dime, and Atroci all being added to the franchise. So yeah, it kind of makes sense that there'd be a little bit of roster bloat in the small carnivores. For the scavengers, Compimoros and Coelophysis confirmed. Oviraptor. I'm gonna throw more doubt on Oviraptor. People are considering Oviraptor guaranteed, and I think that's wrong because he's only in the extended edition of Dominion and the deleted prologue. That gives Frontier an out to cut this animal, right? No, everybody considers this canon for good reason. But technically, not in the theatrical cut. You could argue it's not canon. It could be cut. In the event that Oviraptor is cut, and assuming Theory makes it, we then would actually have 2 remaining roster slots. Otherwise, if we include Oviraptor and Theory, there is a single slot left in this roster. One solitary animal that we don't know. Speaking of Theory, our big chicken. Now, surely Therizinosaurus is in this game, right? Surely it's in the game. But we've never seen it. We've never had a hint of it. We never had a tease of it. It is a completely unique rig. This thing does not share animations. Now, 99.9% chance this guy makes it into the game. But there is that 0.1% chance that Frontier cut it to save animation time. This thing is so prominent in Dominion. I cannot imagine a world where this is cut. I think it's just kind of being saved for like a last hurrah for the game. Like a last, push, a last final reveal. Maybe it's got a really cool male design, and that's why they've saved it for last. Could be a thing. Sauropods, we've seen all these guys. Only 6. Likely, that's going to be the full roster. There is still, technically chance for another one, but like... It's interesting. We started JWE1 with 5. Right, we've gotten multiple sauropods added with DLCs. We got Amarga as a new addition in 2 at launch. But after all the cuts, we're back down to just 6. Meanwhile, with Ceratopsians, we have 9. Did we need 9? If we didn't have 3 new Ceratopsians, there'd only be 6. Kind of crazy. But I'm not mad about Styracosaurus making it in. It's one of my favorite dinosaurs, and it makes some sense for it to be here. It's got name recognition. It is one of the dinosaurs of all time. It's also in the Jurassic Park novel, and it's a JPOG species. So there's a lot of like ancillary franchise history for this. It's also, I think, semi-canon because of the DPG marketing material, which adds it in, if I remember correctly, even though it's never seen on screen. So, like, it makes some sense. Probably the more shocking inclusion on this whole list, given, the rest of the list, is Chasmosaurus. This guy's got, like, his franchise history is, like, he was a toy once. Why did he make it? Over, like, Torosaurus, which is a JPOG animal? Kind of weird. But he's in, so, sure. Thyreophorans, I was very adamant in the last few weeks with the recycled animations and everything that my money was on Hoangosaurus and Polacanthus. Technically, those 2 can still make it in. But if they make it in, we get no new species, we get no Oviraptor. Can you imagine if the final week of reveals is Polacanthus, Hoangosaurus, and Therizinosaurus? That would be crazy. I fully, firmly believe that there's a new species still coming. That's a carnivore, medium or large. And that it, in theory, will be the big bangers for the last week. And then some sort of less interesting third animal, be it Oviraptor or be it some other strange inclusion makes it in. But we'll see. Only next week knows. No changes through the Ornithopods. A roster of 8. Titan's still a weird inclusion. Did we need 8 Ornithopods? I don't think we needed Oloro and Centaur, but I get it. Recycled animations. Small herbivore roster. We end up with Dryosaurus, 4 Ornithomimosaurs, Homalocephali, Packy, and Stiggy. Stiggy still not on the website. So we get Stiggy next week. I don't know. Have we seen any hint of the Stiggy male? Could be interesting. Probably won't be. Let's be real at this point. Pterosaurs. Looking very much like the Pterosaur roster is complete at 7. Very unlikely, I think, at this point that we get another Pterosaur added to this roster. Tapajara has yet to be revealed on the website. It seems really unlikely there'd be 2 Pterosaurs in the final week of reveals. So I'm going to put my foot down. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and bet precisely $0 that this is the exact roster. Yeah, the definitely. I mean, it's not an unvaried roster, right? We got Trope, we got a couple of Ashdarkids, we got Tapajar doing its thing, we got Pteranodon, Geosternbergia for like the pseudo canon franchise history, Dimorphodon, obviously. Like, it's a decently varied pterosaur roster out of the options. The weird thing for me, I'm gonna harp on this. I'm gonna keep harping on this. Why in the world is Tapajara in the game if it's not an herbivore? Why is this not just a Sungaripterus for the same like style of animal, the same like size class? Um, and then when they would have brought back Tapajara later, they could have put the effort into making it an herbivore, making it more interesting, and like resell it in a DLC for that upside. Like, I don't know why they put Tapajara in this base game and didn't change it. It sucks. It could be such a unique and interesting animal, and it's just not. I mean, technically, there's still a chance that this changes, right? Like, it just didn't make it into the test build, maybe, but that's a cope. Like, this is just going to be another goddamn fish eater. Disappointing. Likely the aquatic roster is also complete, just going off of the fact that it appears to be exactly 7 animals, just like the pterosaur roster. So probably nothing to get revealed here next week. Much like the pterosaur roster, it looks like a complete roster, decent balance. We got Ichthy and Pleasy for like iconic aquatic animals. We got, Megalodon and Chronosaurus and Amberosaurus for some like favorite animals. Dunk adds some good variety. Mosasaurus is canon. Like, it looks like a reasonably complete aquatic roster. It's kind of including one example of everything, right? I mean, we even get like a proper plesiosaurid, and then is Amberosaurus a plesiosaurid? Hold on, I gotta look. It is. So we get Attenborosaurus for like a long neck plesiosaur. We get Chronosaurus for a short neck plesiosaur, and then like a good mix of other types of aquatics. Like, it's pretty balanced. It makes sense. For the final slot, then, like we said before, Theory and Oviraptor remain unconfirmed. Theory is essentially guaranteed, but maybe Oviraptor isn't. And then once you're past those two, it really is the final slot at that point because there's one additional slot, which I still think is probably a new carnivore. There, of course, there's still a chance we don't get another new animal, but it's going to be so weird if the only new carnivore is the deluxe edition Guanlong. That would be so strange. So I'm gonna still stick with this. I still believe the carnivore is coming. I think if anything, Oviraptor's cut, and then we get some other strange include. Some notable. Let's talk notable exclusions. At this point, we have a pretty good idea of what's not in. Again, any given animal on this list could like sneak in. It's possible 2 animals on this list sneak in, but that's real unlikely. Camp Cretaceous definitely cut completely. Like, there was a slim chance, since we had like 4 or maybe 5 roster slots, depending on whether or not Oviraptor made it in, there was still technically a chance that like this week was all the Camp Cretaceous animals, but that would have been a very strange way to do a reveal week. So I've been firmly on the Camp Cretaceous cut train for weeks now, and now it is very obviously and clearly cut. You cannot. There is no remaining argument that these animals are in, which makes the Camp Cretaceous plus Chaos Theory DLC essentially guaranteed. This could be a case of the paid DLC part being, the return of Mahjong and Pachyrhino and Suko alongside Beckel Spinax as a new animal and a few skins. I think the removal of Bumpy from the weekend playtest build maybe points towards the idea of reselling Bumpy in the DLC and having a possibly like the idea of a juvenile skin that grows up into an adult skin and having them, that both be a unique, animal skin that changes between age morphs, because we haven't seen anything with the juveniles as far as unique skins go, right? We have not had a single hint that any of the on-screen juveniles in the franchise have made it into the game as skins, and we have not seen any of the film adult skins on the juveniles. So we don't know how that works. So it's possible it just doesn't work. and it becomes kind of a feature of the Camp Cretaceous DLC with Bumpy and maybe Smoothie both getting potentially juvenile skins that then grow into adult versions of that skin. Otherwise, it's very strange that Bumpy would be cut when all the other unique Camp Cretaceous skins made it into the dev build. We've got Big and Little Edie. We've got Parasaurolophus Lux. Like, the Bumpy removal was a very strange thing. Other notable exclusions: Pterodactylus and Euoplocephalus as novel animals. Styrac was a novel animal and just made it in. Further making these guys' exclusions look a little weird. Pterodactylus could have taken Tropognathus' slot. That wouldn't have been that much of a stretch. I think stocks for a novel DLC have never been higher at this point in JWE3 because other than the fact that we have a Rebirth novel or Rebirth DLC coming and like the Chaos Theory DLC, there's not as much deep cut stuff for them to include in DLCs. I don't necessarily think a novel DLC is by any means likely or guaranteed, but I feel like it's more possible, especially given that we've got a pair of animals here that they can reintroduce as part of like a novel DLC. Similarly, we've got two classic era canon animals that are missing in the form of Herrerasaurus, my precious, and Stegosaurus, who we only just finally got added to the game just to lose it again. These are canon, of course, from the Jurassic Park brochure, but are not actually seen on screen. The brochure is seen on screen, but not in a legible way. Herrerasaurus, we actually do know had a DNA vial prop. Segi, we haven't seen that as far as I know, but it probably had one as well. They were both probably on the coolers in the film on that prop, but again, we don't actually see their names in the film. But we see Proceratosaurus and Metriacanthosaurus' names, and all four of those animals are on the brochure together. So they were likely on all the props together. So I expect these guys to return at some point. Maybe there'll be some sort of classic JP DLC. A lot of people want a Memenchi variant. Could be a thing, right? We do what? Like Lost World Pteranodon variant, Memenchi variant. I don't know what else we would do. I don't know if there's enough gas for a classic era DLC, but maybe. Notable exclusions from kind of the extended canon of the franchise: Tylosaurus and Albertosaurus, both coming from video games, but video games that were very narratively focused and kind of existed in a semi-canon space, especially before Jurassic World. Albertosaurus coming from Jurassic Park Trespasser, and Tylosaurus coming from Jurassic Park the Game. We did get Troodon from Jurassic Park the Game, so there's some precedent for these animals making it in. These are both points in these animals' favors that probably got them into JWE2 as well. So I would expect to see these return at some point. Similarly, the JPOG roster is incomplete. It will not be completed with the release of JWE3. So you should expect these animals to also return at some point. So Alberta, Kamara, Carcharodontosaurus, and Torosaurus. Camarasaurus also is a semi-novel canon animal. Depending on which version of the novel you have, it has either Apatosaurus or Camarasaurus. Apatosaurus generally is the more canon option of the two. Camarasaurus is only in select printings. I expect these four to all return at some point. They'll definitely not break up the JPOG roster permanently. Of course, we're also missing from JPOG Kentrosaurus, but that'll be in the Camp Cretaceous DLC. So I specifically have left out the Camp Cretaceous animals. Also, Tyrannosaurus, of course, is from JPOG. I just haven't included them on these other lists. Another set of animals that I think are notable for being not included is the rest of the JWE1 launch roster. So Kamara, Crichtonsaurus, Deinonychus, Wangosaurus, Pentaceratops, Polacanthus. If they resell Hoengosaurus to us a third time, that's going to be crazy. Given that the hybrids are in base game and they didn't resell those, I really don't expect Hoengosaurus to be resold for a third time. But who knows, honestly, what's going to happen. I kind of expect these animals to all return. The JW1 launch roster kind of feels like an iconic thing. Other animals that are missing are, now we're getting more into deep cuts here, but there's a few other possibilities. Alamosaurus, of course, is the lobby skeleton from the Jurassic Park Visitor Center. So I could see that making it in. And then Crichtonsaurus and Marodactylus were included in the game, specifically because their names are references to people associated with the novel and the movies. Crichtonsaurus being named for Michael Crichton, author of the novel, and one of the screenwriters of the original film. And Marodactylus is actually Marodactylus Spielbergi, named for Spielberg. You probably know who he is. So I could see these coming back as kind of those, those reference animals, those almost, Easter egg animals, kind of in a way, right? You could see them coming back. So yeah, these are kind of the ones that stand out to me. Is like these animals probably won't be gone for that long, but this is definitely like multiple updates worth of animals, be they free or be they paid DLC. And ignore this final 6 slide you see at the bottom of the screen. This is just an old slide. I've just been updating these, but I haven't deleted like all the extra slides, which I probably should, because it kind of does make it maybe more confusing. There we go. Weird stuff gone. Okay, that's the video. I don't know how this took a half hour. I'm genuinely shocked. Well, there it is. All right, next week we have whatever the final reveals are, presumably. I mean, there is a chance they don't reveal the full roster before release, but given that there are still updates coming to the website, I think it's guaranteed. Also, I think, hold on, if we go back and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it was 10 this week. So there's 6 animals still missing from the website. We have 80. They've been doing 10 like every week. I think this will be 6 reveals next week. I think we'll see the full thing. Not guaranteed, but what I was wondering was if they had split this up in an even way with next week. But no, they did a full 10, so... Well, whatever. We'll find out next week.